Hi. So, one trait I really value when it comes to working with a big team or just letting the public know what's going on is transparency. So, I want to be as transparent as possible with all of you as to what's going on with the YouTube channel Jacknjellify. Because I feel like I don't really have anything to hide, so why not just lay everything out there? Well, not everything, but just the essentials. So I've been hearing a lot of talk lately that, oh, Jacknjellify is a greedy corporation now. What a fall from grace. Um, and I just want to clarify that Jacknjellify as a group of people or a company or a channel, whatever you want to call it, has always been me, Carrie Huang, and my twin brother, who's not in this room right now, Michael, trying to make as funny as possible cartoons of the BFDI characters doing their shenanigans, winning competitions, going to Royal City, whatever. And over the years, we've hired more people to try to help us make those animations bigger, better, faster, whatever. And I guess as of 2 months ago, we hired around 48 new people. So that comes from like animators, audio editors, background designers, asset designers, yeah, stuff like that. So it's 48 new people, and because Jacknjellify is, I guess, maybe a larger YouTube channel now, I want to pay all these people for the work they do because I feel like it's the right thing to do. Like if we were a smaller YouTube channel, maybe we wouldn't be able to afford it, but it just feels like, I don't know, BFDI, that's something we should do. Yeah, and I would say within the object show community, I think it's amazing that there are something like 200 object shows created, which is amazing because people like BFDI enough to want to recreate it, but add their own spin, their own take on it. I mean, I think the idea of like inanimate objects being humanized and then competing for a prize in a reality-like show is quite an, not absurd, but like a very specific niche that like I'm like flattered that so many people wanted to do it themselves. But the reason I bring that all up is because there's maybe a couple hundred of these, which sounds like a lot, but I don't think there are that many object shows that are trying to be financially sustainable. So in that sense, I feel like BFB right now is kind of pioneering into uncharted territory because no one really knows how to do this. So now that we've hired 48 new people that we want to pay, that money has to come from somewhere. So that's why lately we've been trying to, I guess, promote more products that we think are, worth buying. They're like BFDI related products. And I guess looking back, perhaps mistakes were made, or like there are things that I would have done differently if I had known the timeline of events that have happened now. But like it's all been because like we want to pay more people the amount that they're worth. So I guess when it comes to like things like the hoodie ad at the end or at the beginning of BFB 18, I know a lot of people didn't like that. And when I was writing the episode, I really didn't want to have an ad at the beginning because I personally liked starting, I don't know what you call it, a cold open, starting with Taco and Spongy trying to form a friendship, and Taco offers the friendship bracelet and then Spongy turns into an hourglass shape. I think that was like a fun gag to start on. So I didn't like the idea of having an ad come before that. But a few months prior, Michael had recently partnered with a new hoodie manufacturer, and like as manufacturers do, they proposed this new campaign where they would make a product and then only sell it for 10 days. And they said, we're trying this out. We want to see whether having a limited edition product is going to increase sales or decrease sales. Like they are a corporation, so that's like what they do. So Michael said like, yeah, let's try it. And I think this was months ago. So I don't think we knew what the full BFB schedule was going to be like back then. So they said like, you got to promote it in an episode and it's got to be within this very tight date range because, 10 days, that's how long like it's gotta last. So the reason why that's unfortunate is because I did not want to have 2 videos come out within 72 hours that were both promoting paid products, and that's like the YouTube membership announcement on May 2nd or something, and then the hoodie announcement in BFB 18. I just think that was like a bad look that we couldn't really have anticipated months prior, but it just was sort of, I guess, not forced upon us, but like just based on the way the schedule kind of lined up, they ended up within 2 days of each other, which is like blah. What I do want to say is that BFDI will always be free to watch because, you know, our goal is to have the show be seen by, well, not seen, but I guess like enjoyed by as many people as possible. And like I really value like viewer interaction, which is why community votes have always been an integral part of how the season plays out. We want people to vote what they think, you know, which character they want to leave, which character they want to stay. So the reason I say all of that is because like we're not putting up a paywall for these BFDI episodes. We're kind of like offering a voluntary thing that people can buy if they want to, but they don't have to. And the only reason we're doing this is, again, because we're growing the team larger. So like, I mean, I guess I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I don't want to like take the same pie and split it up into 48 slices when it used to be split up into like 5 slices. It needs to grow somehow if more people are doing the work. So with that being said, I agree that like the ad feels kind of out of place, but like when you kind of make a deal with a company like that, you can't really back out of it. So it's just not ideal, but I think like it stands separately from the like storyboard that I wrote, I hope. And then when it comes to like the controversial split of the seasons, I mean, people don't like that as well, but that was also under the motivation of like giving more people what they want, letting the fans have the content that they subscribed for. I mean, I guess that we already went over that in the video that's like titled, what is it called? It's like the reason behind the split of the 2 shows, or I could find out right now what it's called. Let me Google it. I'm glad my computer screen's not visible because like I think I don't want you to see all the files that I've been working on for secret upcoming projects. The secret behind BFE split. So if you want to know like more behind why the season split, you can watch that. But I think the fact that we've got 2 episodes out now after the split has hopefully showed you like the motivation behind it, because they came out like each within about like 3 weeks. So like I think the episodes are coming out faster, and I know some people might think like, oh, they're not as good though, but I think that's very subjective. And like again, when it comes to making it financially sustainable, I think the rate at which the episodes comes out is important. Also, you know, because like little kids, time feels like it goes by a lot slower for them. So, you know, what feels like, oh, a really quick 3-month hiatus for us could be eternity for a 6-year-old. I don't know. So like I've always just felt like, you know, I want BFDI to kind of return to season 1 vibes, where it's just like, you know, you poop out an episode really quick. Well, it wasn't like pooping out an episode, but it felt like there weren't as high stakes for each episode because the next one would come out so soon that you were allowed to fail on one because you could redeem yourself in the next one. So like BFDI episode 13, which is don't lose your marbles with the like, oh, I found a red ball, I found a maroon ball. I remember I felt so upset when the leaderboard in the episode had a bunch of glitches, like it would always show the wrong scores. But then I told myself, I only have to wait 700 hours before I can release an episode where the announcer says there was a bug, but we fixed it, so now there are no errors. And then the next episode came out and we fixed those errors. So it felt really good to just have that fast turnaround, and also to kind of interact with the viewers more quickly. So that's why we had the split, and I think I'm like pretty happy with the rate the episodes are coming out now. I think when it comes to like, oh, these episodes don't have the same vibe that like your favorite episodes did. I think that's just inevitable. I mean, whenever any new episode comes out, I always have this feeling that like it doesn't quite match what the old ones were. Even like BFDI season 1, like near the end, like 23, 24, 25, I was always like, oh my god, there's so few contestants left. It doesn't have the same, classroom, everyone's like bustling around vibe that early BFDI had. And then like I definitely felt as if BFDI 5's 5 parts were just so cluttered while I was making it that I like wanted to distance myself from BFDI entirely after that whole kind of, I would call it a train wreck at the time, but like speaking about it 6-7 years later, I'm very nostalgic for those episodes because, it almost feels like, nostalgia kind of makes things seem better. So I think it's just that these new episodes, it takes time to kind of like get used to changes. And like, I also understand that feeling of like, oh, this isn't what I'm used to. But I think with time, every change starts to become more comfortable. So like, I get that these episodes feel a little jarring, but if there's anything I've learned over 12 years of YouTube, it's just that you have to fail faster. You have to make stuff and like release it faster so you can learn from it faster and then like learn from it. And I didn't want the process of like getting bogged down to kind of get Jacknjellify stuck into a multi-year long hiatus like it did between 2013 and 2016. Because I think during that really long hiatus, Michael and I were not happy that the channel was inactive, and the viewers were not happy that we weren't uploading any new videos. So it was a lose-lose situation. I mean, other factors went into that, like I'm sure you've heard it many times by now, but our AdSense getting shut down entirely for 2 years, it felt like we were just kind of ostracized from the entire YouTube community, from YouTube itself. So I think, in a way, those 2 years made us feel like we didn't deserve any financial compensation for the work we had done, which I mean, like we were 16 when the AdSense got shut down. So like it wasn't on the top of our minds like right then, but like as we grew up, we realized like, oh, everyone's going to college now, everyone's finding a job now, everyone is being paid for their work now. And it felt like, we had put so much effort into BFDI and it was like reaching like millions of people, and we had been banned for no reason. So it felt like, I don't know, it was, what is the word? Like it was immoral for us to ask for money during the years of 2014 and 15, and that kind of became entrenched as like a mindset that I inflicted on myself, that like my work was not worthy of payment because it was like fake internet points. So I think with all that being said, when like 2016 came around and we got our AdSense back, and then we kind of like had a new drive to make new episodes when we went to VidCon 2016, and like we saw how much energy there was around the YouTube community. Like we knew that we never wanted to go back to a time where we felt so hated and ignored. So I think this push to like hire more people is kind of like us recognizing like, hey, lots of people want to help us, and like the drive is there to make BFDI bigger and better than it used to be. So this is us trying to figure out how to make that happen. And Michael and I have never really run a business. I guess we're 23, so like, I don't know, getting up there, but I'm fresh out of college now, so I think this is something very new for both of us. So I mean, mistakes will be made and we'll learn from them, but I don't know, I think I've said what I've tried to say like enough already, so I feel like I'm going in circles. Yeah, I just, I know there's like, it's kind of like an art form to figure out how to like, I don't know, get a product out there without seeming like desperate or begging, because like, I don't know, it would be really cool to produce a game for Switch that was BFDI related, or a book about BFDI that wasn't only through Scholastic, because the Scholastic book, I really like it, but I would like to create a BFDI book that you can just buy, whether you're at a Scholastic book fair or not. And I think that's like pretty easy through Amazon. I just need to find out the correct way to do that. But like, if we were to make those things, they all cost money, especially if it's like a physical object like the book. So, I want to announce like, hey, we're making a BFDI book, but then, as soon as like we say like it costs money, then people start saying like Jacknjellify is a greedy corporation. It's really not. Like, it's always been my dream since I was like 6 to sell a book. I mean, if I had my like giant box of all the fake books I had written in elementary school, it would be like overflowing, because what I used to do is I would take lots of sheets of paper and like I would take the long stapler that's over here, and I would like staple it right down the middle, right here, like this way, and then I would fold it in half and then like write the title on it. Is this the right way? Maybe it's that way. Yeah. So I think making that book is kind of like a lifelong dream come true. And I'm so grateful that like I might be in a position that might be worth my time, that like I could say like, this book is out, so if you want to check it out, go buy it. Whereas, when I was 7 years old, no one would buy it. But I recognize that a lot of people out there don't have money, and like there's a lot bigger concerns on their mind. Maybe they can't afford rent and all that. So when we make a claim like, hey, want to buy this thing, I don't want to like diminish the hardships that like people who are not as privileged as us are going through. But I just feel like I still want to make that book. I don't know. It's really difficult, and I think it's like, I mean, people are always allowed to criticize, and I don't want people to think like, oh, Carrie can't take criticism when it's due. But it is like disheartening when people like say like Jacknjellify has gone full sellout. Like, I don't know, like I'm enjoying working with more people, but like they're not going to volunteer their free time forever. Like everyone, I feel like these last few years especially, the oldest range of the object show community is kind of reaching early 20s, like the time period where like people need to start finding jobs and livelihoods, and like you can't just do things for free anymore, which I know it sucks, but I don't know, I just feel like BFDI has value, and like that's why I want to keep working on it into my adult life, whereas most people, if I wasn't so fortunate to have like the BFDI fan base, BFDI would become like a childhood memory. And I think all kind of nostalgic childhood memories are important to cherish and stuff, but like I just have this kind of gut feeling that we could keep making BFDI even when I'm in my 20s. But like that's going to require funding somehow. Otherwise, the family members are going to start saying, when you're going to get a real job, or like, why didn't you become a doctor? Why didn't you get a master's degree? Because, this academic quarter, pretty much every college is doing online classes now because of the pandemic, which, is affecting a lot of people a lot worse than it is affecting us. So I realize we have it pretty easy, but I could have taken online courses this quarter to go towards my master's, but I didn't. I chose not to do that because I wanted to focus on YouTube, and I felt like we were kind of at a turning point in Jacknjellify's history where, we can start embarking on bigger things like a book or a video game or, I don't know, an office. And I just, I felt like that was more what I wanted to do than just get a master's. But like I said, there will be the family members and like the other, I guess, people in the professional world, like employers and coworkers, who will kind of question what I'm doing with my time. And if you take a year-long break and they see that in your resume, they always ask like, what did you do in that time? Because they want to make sure you weren't in jail or doing something suspicious like selling drugs. So I feel like I gotta make sure that this year or however long it is that I'm trying to go full force with YouTube, it's worth it. And I hate that in a capitalist world, once you're in your 20s and beyond, everything you do can only be considered a success if, I guess, you make it financially, but I guess that's the way it is. And yeah, I guess it's getting kind of late now. It's 2:30. Yikes. Yeah, I stay up pretty late every night now, which sucks. But I think I'm just like in such a lucky opportunity that I don't want to give up. And yeah. So I guess thanks for listening to this really long ramble. I definitely want to lessen the number of ads on the channel, like legit ads, not fake yellow face ads. I want to limit that in the future. But like, I got to do the math with the income like coming in and the expenses going out to see if Jacknjellify will like stay above water, which like, I don't know. I don't have an economics degree. It might be helpful to kind of like talk to people who do study economics to figure out, or maybe, I don't know. I've heard people say like, oh, economics majors, they just learn a lot of stuff that isn't useful. But I don't know. I feel like Michael and I just like do trial and error to figure out if things help or don't help. But yeah, things change. Yeah. So I think I've said everything I really want to mention. I do want to just reiterate that BFDI was, is, and will always be free. The only reason things have changed is that like we used to be middle school students and there's no pressure on middle school students to make income, and now we are 23 and like trying to pay 48 people. So like if no money comes in, then like that turns into a really sticky situation pretty quickly. So like the overall goal is always the same. It's like, I write these BFDI storyboards trying to make it as funny as possible. Like I think to myself, what jokes would make me laugh if I were watching it from someone else's channel? And so like I kind of evaluate like, oh, I didn't like BFDI A5C because there's just a lot of crying and dying and there's not many uplifting jokes. So I like take note of that, and when I write the next episode, I take that into account. And that's like solely from a kind of I don't know what you call it, like artistic motivation. Like I'm not factoring in like finances into that. It's like just me trying to make as good an episode as possible. So I'm like, what I'm trying to say is like the motivation for doing the episodes is the same as it was in 2010. It's just that, yeah, we're 23 now. I think I'm repeating myself. Oh, I gotta put this long stapler away because it's heavy and it's weighing down on my legs. Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to do a BFB 18 reaction. I just don't really feel like it, and I've like skipped them in the past. So I was like, whatever, no big deal. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like I knew that like every YouTuber ran into like lots of criticism at a certain point, but like I always felt like, oh, the Oppie Show community like is so positive, but that hasn't really, like, I guess that all changed in the last couple of years, but like I guess when criticism needs to be dished out, it's got to be dished out. But yeah, it's just like interesting. Like I don't know, when I make a Carrie KH video, sometimes it just feels like I get to leave a lot of the baggage at home because each video is so different. I don't get like so many people saying like, oh my god, you made this character so much worse, or oh my god, like 4 and X are apart, that's awful. Oh my god, 4 and X are together, that's awful. it just feels like, you know, I make a virus simulator and, okay, well, people correct me about like scientific inaccuracies about the virus simulator, which I do want to make a part 2 where I address every single inaccuracy or correction that people made. But like, I don't know, I'm just rambling at this point. But I do feel like there has been like a big shift into like the first reactions to the episode always being negative. Oh, I don't know. Okay. Well, I just wanted to clarify in this video why the shifts in the channel have been happening, and like I would love to get to a stable point again where like the most frequent thing to come out on the channel is episodes. So like every 2 to 3 weeks is just a new episode, and hopefully we can like learn along the way and shed the bad stuff. So I think I explained or tried to say my take on why this is happening. And again, like, yeah, people are always allowed to criticize, and, you know, improvement is through listening to criticism and improving. But I think that the criticism that Jacknjellify is a greedy corporation just isn't true. Or, okay, maybe, like, if you look at it from the outside, it looks like it's true. But I hope that, like, now that you've seen a little more of the inside, you might think differently. Okay, I guess maybe I'm getting sleepy or I'm just running out of stuff to say. But this was my unfiltered take on that claim in the title right there. Am I looking in the right direction? I don't know. And I don't know. Hopefully, like, you have a clearer idea of what's going on. Yeah, okay. This video is almost half an hour. I can hear my cat like scratching at the door. That always like spooks me out. It's like a horror game where it's like any second now the door's gonna open and then the attacker has shown her face, but she's just a cat. She's like that. Well, she's not that big. She's like that big, but it's still quite creepy. Like I hear scratches on the door. But yeah, this video is quite long. It's almost half an hour. How did that happen? But cool. Thanks for watching and goodbye.